What kind of man stands against danger for a woman he barely knows? That question found its answer in the dusty streets of Redemption Creek. Gunfire echoed through the small frontier town as Rose Norwood crouched behind an overturned wagon. Her hands trembled while holding her growing belly, already 5 months along. Her breath shook, her heart raced, and her eyes scanned the empty street for help. She had only gone to her small apothecary shop to prepare herbs the way she did every day. She never expected 3 men with papers and cold eyes to walk in, claiming she was mentally unfit and needed to be taken into custody. Rose knew better. Rumors had whispered through town about widows being taken east, their babies sold to wealthy couples. She refused to let that happen. When one of the men tried grabbing her arm, she pushed past them and ran. Now silence took over the street. Rose listened carefully, afraid to breathe too loudly. "Ma'am," a deep, calm voice called, "you can come out now." Rose peeked around the wagon and saw a tall cowboy standing in the center of the road. A Winchester rifle rested easily in his hands. His hat shadowed part of his face, but she could see sharp eyes and a strong jaw covered in rough stubble. "Are you hurt?" he asked, stepping toward her. Rose shook her head, but a sharp pain stabbed her side from running. Before she could steady herself, the cowboy reached her and helped her stand. His touch was unexpectedly gentle. "Name's Brock Ryder," he said. "Those men will be back. We need to move." "I'm Rose," she whispered. "Rose Norwood. They want to take me because of the baby." Brock's expression hardened. His eyes shifted to her rounded belly, then back to her face. "Well," he said in a firm voice, "they'll have to go through me first." Hope sparked in Rose, small but bright. "We need to get you somewhere safe," Brock said, looking around. "My ranch is about 3 hours from here. Can you ride?" Rose hesitated. She didn't know this man, but she had no other choice. She nodded. "I trust you," she whispered. Brock nodded once, then guided her through quiet alleyways to where his horse waited. A tall chestnut stallion pawed the ground impatiently. "This here's Thunder," Brock said. "Fastest horse in the territory." He helped Rose mount, then climbed up behind her, one strong arm securely around her waist. "Hold on." Thunder shot forward, hooves pounding hard dirt as they rode out of town. Shouts rose behind them. Rose glanced back and saw Judge Harmon himself mounting a horse, rage twisting his face as he ordered his men to follow. "They're coming!" Rose cried. "They won't catch us," Brock replied. "I know this land better than they do." Thunder raced toward the open prairie, the wind whipping Rose's hair as the sun sank lower. Brock guided the horse into narrow gullies and winding paths that confused their pursuers. After what felt like hours, the shouts vanished. "They're gone," Brock finally said. Rose released a shaky breath, tears filling her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "No need for thanks," Brock replied softly. Nobody should face something like that alone. As they rode, Brock asked gently, "How far along are you?" 5 months, she said. "The doctor says everything is healthy." "Good." Rose rested her hand on her belly, calming the restless movement inside. "My husband," she began, voice heavy with memory. "He died 6 months ago, a mining accident." Brock's voice lowered. "I'm sorry. No one should carry all that alone." The land began to change, rolling hills stretching ahead, dotted with pine and juniper. Far in the distance sat a ranch tucked safely in a valley. "That's home," Brock said. Thunder carried them into the quiet yard. A lantern flickered by the front door, and an older woman stepped outside holding a shotgun. "Who's that with you, Brock?" she asked sharply. "A woman who needs our help," he answered, "and she's expecting." The woman lowered the gun immediately. "Well, don't just sit there," she said. "Bring her inside. She looks about ready to fall over." Brock helped Rose down gently. Her legs wobbled after the long ride. His steady grip held her firm. Inside the warm ranch house, scents of herbs, stew, and wood smoke wrapped around her like a blanket. The woman guided her to a soft chair beside the fire. "I'm Elena," she said kindly. "You're safe now." Tears slipped down Rose's cheeks as exhaustion finally caught her. Safe. For the first time since running, she believed it. And as Brock stood beside her, jaw set with silent promise, Rose knew one thing. Whatever danger waited outside that ranch, she was no longer facing it alone. Morning sunlight streamed through the curtains when Rose woke. For a moment, she forgot where she was. But then she heard voices in the kitchen and smelled bacon cooking. The memories rushed back. The chase, the danger, the ranch, Brock. She slowly stood, one hand resting on her belly, and made her way toward the kitchen. Brock and Elena sat at a wooden table, talking quietly. As soon as they noticed her, both stood. "Good morning," Elena said warmly. "Sit, dear. You need food and strength." Rose sat, and Brock placed a plate of eggs and biscuits in front of her. "You sleep all right?" he asked. "Better than expected," she said truthfully. They ate in silence at first, but then Brock spoke. "I sent one of my men to Redemption Creek at sunrise. He'll find out what Harmon is planning." Rose's stomach tightened. "You think he'll keep coming?" Brock leaned forward, eyes serious. "He won't stop. He wants control of you, your shop, and—" He paused, lowering his voice. "Your child." Rose swallowed hard. "Why?" Brock exchanged a look with Elena before answering. "There are wealthy families back east. Folks pay high prices for newborns, especially healthy ones, especially ones with no father living." Rose froze, the fork in her hand trembling. "So they take widows," she whispered. "Sell the babies." Brock nodded once. "I know because it happened to my sister." Silence fell. The fire crackled softly in the stove. "She was young, widowed like you," Brock continued quietly. "Refused to give up her land. Harmon had her declared unstable. Took her. She gave birth in some institution back east. When she asked for her baby," his voice tightened, "they told her it had died. I later learned it had been sold." Rose felt tears burn her eyes. "Brock, I'm so sorry." Quote, "She never recovered," he said, his jaw clenched. "I buried her myself." Elena placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "That's why I helped you yesterday," Brock said, looking into Rose's eyes. "I won't watch another woman suffer like she did." Rose wiped her eyes. "Thank you for protecting me." Before Brock could respond, pounding hooves echoed outside. Brock stood immediately and went to the door. One of his ranch hands, a middle-aged man with a dust-covered hat, rushed in. "Brock, they're coming," he said breathlessly. "Judge Harmon deputized a posse. 15, maybe 20 men. They're searching every ranch." Rose's heart dropped. "How long until they reach here?" Brock asked. "By nightfall." Elena crossed her arms. "Then we need a plan." Rose looked between them, fear tightening her chest. "You could run," the ranch hand suggested carefully. "Head toward New Mexico. By the time they realize you're gone." "No," Brock cut in. "If we run, Harmon will hunt her forever, and I won't leave the ranch, or Elena, or my people." Quote. The room fell silent until Elena suddenly spoke. "There is a way." Both Brock and Rose turned to her. "If Rose had a husband," Elena said firmly, "Harmon would have no legal claim over her. A husband outranks the court unless proven unfit." Rose blinked, stunned. "A husband?" Elena nodded. "A temporary marriage of protection, on paper only. When the danger is past, you can annul it if you choose." Brock stiffened, looking at Rose carefully, not with pressure, but with respect. "It would keep you safe, Rose," he said quietly, "but only if it's truly what you want." Rose looked down at her belly, feeling the soft flutter of life inside. She had no family, no allies, no safe place anywhere else in the territory. This ranch, these people, Brock, they were the only protection she had left. Her voice trembled but held strength. "Yes, if you're willing, I agree." Brock nodded once, determination settling over his features. "Then we ride now. Judge Phillips is still at the Morrison Ranch for their daughter's wedding. He'll marry us legally." Quote. Within minutes, preparations began. Elena found Rose a clean dress that fit her growing stomach. Brock saddled Thunder again, and soon Rose sat in front of him just as she had the night before. As they rode past the open fields and grazing cattle, Brock spoke quietly near her ear. "This is just a legal arrangement," he said gently. "You owe me nothing. I won't expect anything beyond the papers. Rose nodded, though her heart felt unexpectedly heavy. "I understand." But deep inside, she also felt something new, a sense of safety she hadn't felt in months. Hours later, with Judge Phillips, witnesses, and the Morrison family present, Rose and Brock stood facing each other in a quiet parlor decorated with wedding flowers. "Do you, Brock Ryder, take Rose Norwood?" "Yes," Brock answered without hesitation. "And do you, Rose Norwood, take Brock Ryder?" Rose swallowed, lifted her chin, and answered softly, "Yes." When the ceremony ended, Brock leaned forward, giving her the softest, most respectful kiss, barely more than a breath. But Rose felt it, and she knew nothing would ever be the same. As they prepared to leave, Judge Phillips handed them the signed certificate. "It's legal," he said. "If Harmon challenges it, send word." On the ride back, the sky glowed orange with sunset. Rose rested her hand on her belly and whispered to the life growing inside her, "You're safe for now." But in her heart, she knew the fight wasn't over. She just hoped she wouldn't lose her new husband, temporary or not, before it was. Wait, before we move on, what do you think about the story so far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to know. The next morning came with tension thick in the air. Ranch hands guarded the fence line, rifles ready, but lowered. Rose stood beside Brock in the parlor, trying to steady her breath. Her wedding ring, simple silver, felt heavier than metal. It felt like a boundary, a shield, and a promise all at once. Before noon, the sound of hooves thundered toward the ranch. Brock stepped beside her, shoulders squared, his hand lightly brushing her back as if silently saying, "You are not facing this alone." Elena peeked through the curtain. "They're here, 6 riders in front, the rest waiting by the road." Rose swallowed hard. Brock's arm slid around her waist, not forced, not staged, but steady, protective, convincing. "Ready?" he murmured. Rose nodded, though her heart pounded like a war drum. The door burst open after a hard knock. Brock opened it calmly. Deputy Vernon Harmon stepped inside, wearing a sheriff badge pinned to his coat like he'd stolen authority instead of earned it. Behind him, Judge Harmon himself entered with narrowed, angry eyes. "Where is she?" the judge demanded, "the woman who fled the law?" Rose lifted her chin. "I didn't flee. I left town with my husband." Vernon scoffed. "Husband? Everyone knows you were the widow Norwood just days ago." Brock's grip at her waist tightened, not dominance, but support. "My wife has every right to leave town with me," he said calmly. "Wife?" the judge repeated. "You think a rushed ceremony fools the law?" Elena stepped forward with a sealed envelope. "Marriage certificate," she said, "signed and witnessed by Judge Phillips, legal in every way." Harmon snatched it, scanned it, and growled. "Convenient timing." Rose forced her voice steady. "We didn't owe the town details of our private life." Vernon stepped forward, eyes sharp. "We have testimony you two were never seen acting like a married couple." Rose felt Brock turn toward her. Without hesitation, he gently took her chin and kissed her. Not for show this time. Warm, certain, real. Her breath stilled. Brock looked Vernon square in the eye. "We act married just fine." Something shifted then, not just in the room, but inside Rose. Like walls she didn't realize she'd built, finally softened. Judge Harmon's face darkened. "This isn't over," he snapped. "You can hide behind paper and lies, but the territorial court will expose you both." Brock stepped forward. "Then we'll see you in court." 2 weeks later, they stood inside the territorial courthouse. Rose wore a clean calico dress Elena had sewn to fit her growing belly. Brock stood beside her, tall and unyielding. Judge Hollister presided, stern but fair. Judge Harmon's attorney spoke first. "This marriage is fraudulent, made solely to avoid lawful custody. There is no evidence of courtship, affection, or true union." Then their attorney stood. "Your Honor, the law does not require witnesses to a courtship. It requires consent and legal ceremony, both of which occurred. Witnesses testified. Dr. Mitchell confirmed Rose's mental state was sound. Judge Phillips confirmed the marriage was legal. Then Brock testified. He spoke of meeting Rose, helping her through grief, admiring her strength, and choosing to protect her and her unborn child. Finally, Rose took the stand. Her voice shook at first, but then she looked at Brock. His steady gaze anchored her. "I didn't marry Brock to escape the law," she said. "I married him because he saw me, not as property or a problem, but as a person worth defending." She hesitated, breath trembling. "And because somewhere along the way I began to care for him, truly." A hushed silence fell. Judge Hollister tapped his gavel lightly. "This court finds the marriage valid, legally and in spirit. All claims against Mrs. Ryder are dismissed. Judge Harmon is ordered to cease pursuit and interference." Harmon exploded with anger, but the verdict was final. Rose exhaled, slow, shaky, full of relief. Brock reached for her hand. "It's over," he whispered. Rose wasn't sure if it was courage or instinct, but she leaned in, kissed him softly, and whispered, "It's not over, it's beginning." Months passed. The schoolhouse opened. Rose found joy teaching and tending to the sick, and one quiet winter night, Brock burst through the door calling for Elena. "It's time," Rose said breathlessly, clutching her belly. Hours later, cries filled the room. Not fear, not pain, but new life. A baby girl with dark hair and Brock's determined brow lay in Rose's arms. Brock knelt beside the bed, eyes filled with awe. "She's strong," he whispered. Rose smiled tearfully, like her father. Quote, he looked at her then, not the stranger from the dusty streets, not the protector from necessity, but the man she loved. "Like her mother," he murmured, kissing her forehead. Years later, on a quiet summer evening, their daughter ran barefoot through the grass with siblings close behind. The ranch was peaceful, thriving, safe. Rose leaned against Brock on the porch swing, the sunset glowing red and gold across the valley. "You ever think about how different life could have been?" she asked softly. Brock smiled, sliding his arm around her. "Sometimes. But then I think, if they hadn't tried to take you that day, I might never have found you." Rose rested her head on his shoulder. "And you said they'd have to go through you," she whispered. Brock chuckled. "And I meant every word." Rose reached for his hand, fingers entwining with his. "Good," she said with a soft smile, "because you're still the only place I feel safe." And as the sun set behind the mountains, Brock looked at the woman he'd chosen, not out of obligation, but out of love, and knew he would choose her every time. Forever.